Okay, so good morning everyone. I think we were discussing initial part, okay, of I said last time, we'll be discussing some aspects of urban green or green urbanism and what are green buildings and how it works, okay, and also from the perspective of urban scale, okay, how this rating system has to be understood. We were discussing Griha and Lead in this context, and today we'll see two more rating system, okay, and then we can move on to other topics like passive strategies and other things that will be impacting built environment, and how do we come out with some interventions for all that. Okay, so and, what I have done is I have recorded last class discussion as well. Okay, so maybe at the end of the presentation I will share this presentation and as well as the both the videos. Okay, so in case if you need, you can just browse through it. Okay, so let us quickly go to the topic. These things we discussed. Now we'll go into the third component, that is on BREEAM. See, I'm not expecting that you will remember all these things, whatever we have discussed last time, but at least you should have a broad understanding about what is the objective of this rating system, okay, and what is its main focus, okay, and of course, like I said, the criteria and the scoring system will vary depending on it will emerge, okay, it's not a fixed one. So suppose if they get a new idea today, so probably they will add another criteria for it, okay, another point for it. So those things will keep changing, we can't help it, but we should have a broad understanding of what is the objective of Griha, and how is it different from Lead, okay, and what are the major components that is discussed in the uh, that is discussed yeah yeah that is discussed in the uh, this rating system. Okay, so okay, so what we'll do today is we will start with the BREEAM, and also we'll discuss CASB, and we'll see overall all these four rating systems, what is common in it and what is most important parameters in it. Okay, so BREEAM is Building Research Establishment and Environmental Assessment method. It's developed in UK, okay, and it's one of the oldest assessment system that has been developed. Okay, it covers a range of building types, of course, like we said, for each case, for each rating system, there are different criteria and modules that will be applicable for buildings, for large scale buildings, or for neighborhood, or for even for city as well. Okay, so this is of course is applicable to many of the different scales of project. Okay, points are avoided for each criteria, and the points are added to total scores, of course, based on the performance of buildings on criterion set by the BREEAM agency. It will be assessed. The overall building performance is awarded in the terms of pass, good, very good, excellent rating. Like we have star rating, and then we have seen in Lead, what is the system? In Lead also it is a star, or what was the system? I forgot. Okay, maybe at the end we'll summarize it again. Okay, so there are certain specific criteria that is mentioned in this BREEAM rating system. Okay, so what are the major criteria, okay, under which the entire building or the entire development will be assessed is in terms of management, okay, in terms of overall management of the project, and we'll go into sub parameters also, but I'm just highlighting it here so that you will have a fair understanding about what are we discussing. Management of project, and then energy, what are the steps taken for conservation of energy, energy efficiency, and so on and so forth, and water resources. Okay, and from land use and ecological perspective, if you see in LEED there was a huge discussion on land use. Okay, so how it impacts, how the building should be designed in such a way that it has less impact on the surrounding, and what is the role of land use in that. Then health and well-being of the occupants. Okay, so what are the parameters that needs to be discussed, okay, under this broad heading is also explored here. And then of course about transport, this also we have seen in the LEED. Okay, so smart location was one of the major criteria, okay, and that was used. Then material, of course it is common in all the three so far we have seen. Waste, of course, and pollution as well. Okay, so for each criteria there is a specific set of marking. Okay, specific weightage is given. Okay, and I think in last class also we have seen not all the criteria are equally important. Okay, some of the criteria are optional also. No? It's up to the it's not mandatory. Okay, so some of the criteria has got higher ranking. For example, let us say energy. Okay, so energy has highest scores. So if you work on that, probably will for example, let's say you have to get 70 points or 75 points. So energy can be one of the, has to be one of the major component that needs to be worked out, because the share of the components that needs to be addressed from energy is much higher. So similarly we have other for example, for health and well-being there is a score. You can the building can be assessed for up to a maximum of 15 points, something like that. Okay, so this kind of weightages is not clearly given in the Griha, but it is there actually. Okay, so some of them are optional, some of them are mandatory points, something like that. Okay, and how does it go? Okay, so for example, these are the parameters that we have already shown. Okay, so management, health, energy, transport, material, waste, land use, and pollution. Okay, and these are major criteria. Okay, and it is passed through weightages. Okay, so not all the criteria have equal weightage. These parameters have specific weightages. For example, let us say, like we said, energy has got higher weightage when we compare to waste disposal. Okay, so and accordingly the scores are arrived for building, and if they score 30%, this recognition is given. It is a certified building. Okay, and if 85% of the points are achieved through this, then you get an outstanding score and something like that. And this is not a big science. Okay, it's just a assessment criteria. We just have to know that this is how it is done. We will go into a little bit of detail about what are the sub criteria mentioned in all the major major parameters. Okay, so first one is management. As we mentioned, commissioning period and process adopted. Okay, monitoring of commissioning, energy use, on-site activities, waste management, and pollution minimization. Okay, this is done in the beginning of the project. Okay, so how the process of identifying suitable consultants and the transparency involved in all that is also a part of assessment in this case. Okay, and then health and well-being, adequate ventilation, humidification, presence of controllable blinds, energy efficient lighting, thermal and visual comfort, and noise levels. So this will be assessed from health and comfort perspective. Actually, if you see, some of the things may be slightly higher, maybe from what do you call, intelligent building or smart building concepts may be these are highlighted here. Since this is UK system, okay, so these are devised based on their requirements. So for example, all these things, I hope you are able to understand what is being discussed here: humidification, controllable blinds, energy efficiency, thermal, visual, and comfort. Thermal has got three components. Okay, let me briefly discuss on that. One is thermal from heat perspective, thermal from visual perspective. Okay, comfort is achieved from three concepts. Okay, so one, heat has to be comfortable. Okay, lighting has to be comfortable. Here, lighting in the sense, this visual comfort is what is lighting about. Okay, and also sound also has to be comfortable. Okay, so since may I ask someone, can you explain what is white noise? Have you heard of white noise sometime, somewhere in your discussions? What is white noise? No? Have you guys read about HVAC? Yes, please. Can you explain it? Hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Maybe not directly what you are saying. Actually, see, if the environment is too quiet, that is also not feasible for us to be in a environment. Let us say I'm here in this cabin, and if there is no sound of this laptop and there's no sound of this AC running and there's no noise from outside, I will not be comfortable actually. Okay, so our minds are not trained to be too quiet. Okay, so sometimes it happens that the building is far inside, okay, and this is too quiet. So that time they deliberately create or add sound making. For example, you must have seen in big malls or in large spaces, music is always being played. That's one of the example for sound, white noise. Okay, deliberately creating sound so that uh, we don't feel discomfort. Okay, so that's also one of the things that we should keep in mind. Of course, energy. Okay, energy and submetering is given here. Actually, that means at unit level. Okay, so for example, let us say in from energy efficiency perspective, um, people are not aware how much energy they consume for lighting, how much energy they consume for, let's say, if you have induction at home, how much you use it for cooking, how much you use it for water heating, and so on. So if you have metering system at house, then people are aware how much of energy I am using for bathing, how much I am using it for drinking and other purposes. Okay, so this is indirectly making the consumers aware of how much energy is being used. Instead of just saying you have used this much unit of uh, power, you have to pay this much. Okay, so metering also helps indirectly in reducing the energy consumption, because the end customer or the end consumer know how much is being used, how much energy is being used. So that is also being discussed here. Of course, transport. mode of transport to site and to and from site, alternate transport facility. And then yes, yeah, humidification means, for example, let us say if we are in dry climate, okay, um, uh, uh, and the air is so dry that probably you must have seen some people who start bleeding. Okay, so if you go to some very dry climate, the there is almost no moisture in air. Okay, so that is also a discomfort. That is also a problem. In fact, if you see the Indian climatic zone, most of the Indian subcontinent is warm and humid climate is there. Only in some part we have dry climate. So this concept is less familiar because it is not common in our climatic zone. Humidification is we add moisture into air so that the air does not become too dry. Okay, there are humidifiers, like for example, like we have the chillers, not chillers, the AC units. Similarly, we have devices called humidifiers that will add moisture to air. Okay, so for example, I'll give you an example. Cooler, air coolers. Air cooler is also one of the device that adds moisture to air. That is also you can we can take that as an example for humidifier. Okay, so when the air becomes too dry and saturated, that is also a problem for us. We'll have cough, we'll have dry throat, all that. So we need to add, we need to bring in some kind of moisture into the room. Okay, so humidifier will help in bringing that. Other components include water, okay, and these are common thing in all the uh, rating system. Materials, okay, what kind of materials are used for mitigation, storage facility, usage of structures, envelope design, all that. Okay, so right from wall to roof and insulation and so on. And of course, again, land use is also discussed. Of course, it is one of the important parameter in deciding of project. Ecology, okay, and I think this was also discussed in the other cases also. Um, Before selecting site also we should do assessment. It's something called sensitivity analysis. So where the land is assessed from environmental perspective. And if you remember, we in other systems we saw there are higher points for doing infill development, doing it on brownfield development. Okay, so these things are again discussed here. Pollution, okay, leakage system, on-site treatment, local renewable energy sources, lighting pollution design, avoid use of ozone depletion materials, and so on and so forth. Lighting pollution, can you give an example? Do you understand what is lighting pollution? How do we assess lighting pollution? We are talking about buildings. Too much of light is also not required, okay, and too much of light will create glare, probably from office design perspective. We don't need too much of lighting. There is a prescribed lux levels given for each activity. Okay, so if we meet that requirement, that's sufficient for us to do. Okay, if we create more lighting, then we'll have more issues. Okay, lighting pollution in that level also will be assessed. In fact, this is common in all the parameters. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Sorry. No, your voice is not clear. Your voice is breaking actually. Yeah, yeah. Can you speak? Say it again, please. Yes, yes, yes. Of course, that's what I'm also saying. Yeah, we can consider. in fact there are specific, for example, I think this is not our subject, but just to give you a hint, lighting pollution can be looked into three ways. One is of course the amount of light that is coming from the installed fixtures, street lights and so on, and also kind of barriers that we use in streets. Okay, how much, for example, if we have two-lane street, okay, and vehicles are passing in both the ways, and we have a median. If you have observed, these medians are treated through landscaping or through barriers. Okay, why do we do that? Of course, not to cross one another, this lane from this lane to another lane. That is one objective. The other objective is to avoid the glare, the excess light from one lane to other. It should not disturb the other the vehicles on the other lane. Okay. Similarly, the lighting pollution can also be discussed from glare perspective. Okay, too much of lighting. Let's say you have designed building for daylight. Okay, but you are getting direct sunlight inside the building. Okay, and the required lighting level at desk is something, but we are getting more than that, then that will have an issue. All these things will be discussed from lighting. It can be discussed at desktop level, that means workstation level, and it can be discussed at city level also. All right. In fact, I am working on one of the project where we are trying to assess impact of a large mass gathering religious space, the lighting of that religious space on the immediate natural environment. Okay, so we are trying to map through satellite imagery the lighting level in the lighting level that was there in 2000, 2000 or 2004, depending on the satellite data available, and how much lighting has gone in, how much new light has come in, and how is it impacting the immediate natural environment. Okay, so from building level to desktop level to ecological aspect we can discuss through this lighting pollution analysis as well. Okay, so in summary, for example, under energy we have there will be assessment for reduction of carbon dioxide, energy monitoring, energy efficient external lighting, low or zero carbon technologies, okay, energy efficient cold storage, energy efficient transport system, laboratory system, equipments, drying space and so on. So under major criteria, okay, there are specific sub criteria mentioned in all these things. All these things will be measured. For example, in health and well-being we have visual comfort, like I said. It's about lighting, both artificial and natural lighting, indoor air quality, thermal comfort, water quality, acoustic. Acoustic is sound environment in inside building. Okay, this is also actually less spoken or less researched subject. Okay, sound pollution. How do we assess? Can we map soundscape of park? There is one of my PhD scholar who has just submitted her PhD. Her work is on mapping soundscape. How do we define soundscape of a park? Okay, how do we probably we are aware how do we define an the built environment? Okay, what are the characteristics of built environment? We can model it. Can we model soundscape of a park or soundscape of this room? Okay, and assess how sound impacts end user. So now there are a lot of advancement. So many things have been added into the assessment criteria. And of course, these are not qualitative assessment. Okay, many of the parameters and sub-parameters are quantitative assessments. For example, let's say building operation. Okay, how much kilowatt hour per year it uses. This is quantified. In terms of numbers, it is quantified. It's not qualitative assessment. It's all quantitative assessment. And the for different parameters, different aspects, different units are given, and how it has to be measured and recorded. This is an indicative assessment table for BREEAM. So, for example, these are major parameters that we have seen, and credit achieved, and how much, what is it, what is they have achieved, okay, and what is the maximum credit they can avail, okay, and percentage achieved, and like I said, there's a specific weightages given for management, energy. If you see, if you remember this, 19 was the weightage given to the energy. So whatever this score they have achieved, it will be multiplied by this, and then specific percentage will be evaluated. Okay, simple calculation only. And how is it assessed? Unclassified, just certified building, if the percentage is less than 30, and pass and very good and so on and so forth, depending on the scores it is achieved. And this is interesting. The BREEAM is interesting because since it was there for quite long time. I think it is from 1998 it is there. So things have been refined, much refined, and clear objectives have been set. So there are certain things which are pre-design assessment. Okay. So for example, let's say appraisal. Okay, appraisal of the project and the objectives and so on and so forth. Design brief in the sense what is the expectations of client, okay, and what is the need of that expected outcome of the project, okay. So that is assessed, pre-assessed in this stage. And there is something called design stage assessment, okay. So where actual concept of the project, design development, and technical details of the proposals are assessed or evolved over a period of time. And then pre-construction assessment is also done. Production of information, tender document, and so on, actions regarding tender document, all that has to be done. At this stage itself, an interim assessment or certification is done by BREEAM. Okay, so pre-assessment and design stage assessment, till here itself the project is assessed and an interim certificate is given. And then during constructions, okay, what are the changes that is been brought in the actual construction, and other issues related to construction, to practical completion, how much it is actually built on site, how much deviation has occurred from the project, all that will be monitored and documented. And there will be post assessment as well, and then final rating will be given based on the assessment. Okay, so in most of the case, post occupancy evaluation is also one of the most criteria, important criteria that we should keep in mind. It's not that only in the design stage this is discussed. After construction, the project is assessed for to check how much actual deviation has occurred, or whether it is really performing the way it is or not. Otherwise, whatever the client or whatever the client consultant submits as a performing report will just act as the evidence for the performance of the building, but which is not the case. Okay, yeah. And if you just see the comparison, land use ecology, okay, in BREEAM is there, and there is something called site sustainability. And if you see the weightage, okay, 10% weightage is given in BREEAM, whereas we have seen extensive lot of importance is given to land use. Okay, water efficiency 6 percentage, and you have 9 weightage is 9%. Energy is given 19%. Here you see 31% is focused on energy. Okay, so this is a huge one. That's why a lot of new technological development has occurred from this perspective. Material, okay, almost same weightage in both the case. Health and well-being is also again almost the same weightage is assigned. Transport, and then we have wastage. Okay, so there are other things that is being discussed in the BREEAM, which is actually indirectly assessed inside it, but it's not explicitly assessed. For example, pollution management of project, innovation. That's not actually being discussed here. Okay, I have not put any case study for BREEAM because so many things can be put up here. I have given a link where you can actually go and see some of the case studies from the official BREEAM site itself. Okay, so if you want to look for some case studies for how BREEAM works and how assessment is carried out, maybe you can go to this particular site and see how it is done. Okay, so that was BREEAM, and we see the last rating system. Okay, that's CASB. Okay, please remember that this is BREEAM is of UK. Okay, and you may ask why these things are important. Suppose if you want to work in UK, or suppose if you want to work in Japan or in US or in Middle East, you should know, and if you are interested in this particular subject, and if you want to be a consultant in these lines, what you need to do is you have to master specific rating system, so that you are aware of the kind of rating system that is in practice in that particular locality, and you will also be certified actually. So you will for example, let us say you have to give an exam and you have to clear that exam, and then you will be certified professionals in that particular rating system. Okay, so the last rating system that we will be discussing under this topic is CASB, which is Comprehensive Assessment System for Built Environment Energy Efficiency, Built Environment Efficiency. Sorry, and this is a CASB is a method for evaluating and rating the environmental performance of buildings and the built environment. Okay, so there are two words that is mentioned here. One is evaluating or rating the environmental performance of building and built environment. So far what we have seen is exclusively built environment alone, and maybe to some side. Okay, here here specific assessment will be done on how the building is actually impacting the immediate surrounding and the performance of building. Both are equally important here. Okay, CASB was developed by a research committee established in 2001 through collaboration of academia, industry, national and local governments, which was established by Japan Sustainable Building Consortium, JSBC. I have put up one very interesting case study from which has been rated under CASB. Okay, so all this information you can find through JSBC. Okay, online you can log into this and then find out which buildings are rated and how it is rated, what are the parameters and so on and so forth. Okay, so CASB is divided into 4 assessment tools. Okay, the first assessment tool is about pre-design, the second is about new construction, the third is about existing building, and the fourth is about renovation. Okay, so it's part by part given. Okay, so if the project has to be assessed for pre-design. Okay, there's a specific tool. Okay, tool, and I think there is one supplementary Excel file where you have to feed the information to generate the results. Okay, so for each stage or for each category there is one specific tool that is given, and in fact unlike other tool which is, for example, generally saying this tool is applicable for small scale project, large scale project or commercial project and other things. Here specific building typology has been evolved. For example, let us say if CASB for new construction, this is generic. CASB for existing building, okay. CASB for renovation, CASB tool for market, CASB tool for commercial interiors, for temporary construction, for heat island, for urban development, okay, for cities. This is evolving actually, it's not holistic. Pilot version of world use is also for cities, there has been evolving actually, and CASB for detached house, okay, and there was one old tool also, CASB for new construction of dwellings, health check, renovation, community. So depending on the typology of the project and the use, specific tools are there, so that to have some more explicit assessment about the performance of the building. Okay, so how is it assessed? Like other rating system, this is also assess the parameters used for assessing includes energy, resource and materials. Okay, and then we have offset environment. These are some of the new things we will discuss in little detail how it is done. Noise and acoustics, thermal comfort, okay, lighting and illumination level, air quality, flexibility and adaptability, biotope conservation, okay, so conservation of fauna and of course flora as well, townscape and landscape, okay. The overall scoring is done based on the above these critical parameters. Okay, so assessment is actually divided into two components. One is called Q, where building environmental quality and performance is one component. Then building environmental loading, okay, according to a hypothetical boundary of project. Maybe I'll explain you through this diagram. Okay, so let us assume that this is the building that we are analyzing, okay, and this is the site extent of this building, okay, and this they define it as the building's environment, immediate environment, hypothetical space, okay, enclosing the building, okay, and these are its neighbor build setup, okay, and Q is assessment category as a positive impact inside the boundary, okay. Because of this and also because of the interventions at the site level, how the quality of this environment is defined, what are the positive aspects about of this putting this building in place, okay, and the also negative impact is also assessed. For example, emission of air pollutants, noise, heat, etc., soil, water and waste pollutants outside the site, resource consumption and CO2 emission and so on. All these three are termed as L, this negative impact of this putting this building into place. Okay, so if you have to analyze, understand this, because of this building, what is the positive environment it is created within this site, okay, within this micro environment is one component. The negative impact of this building on outside the site. Okay, these are outside the site, right? We the buildings are not exclusive, right? It will have an impact on the other case as well. For example, in fact, we have been discussing that green buildings will have a better performance. It will have less impact on the surrounding, or it will have less impact on the environment, all that. Okay, there was one study done in our campus. We tried to assess what is the impact of what is the negative impact of this. Let us assume that this is a green building. This is designed as green building, and we were trying to assess what is the impact of this green building on negative impact of this green building on immediate surrounding, similar to this. Okay, so any building will have an impact, but we have it should be less, it should be minimum. That's the whole intent. We cannot have zero impact buildings. There's nothing like that. As soon as we build something, we are disturbing the natural fabric. But the intent is how do we bring down the impact is what we are all discussing now from the lens of sustainability or green urbanism and so on and so forth. Okay, so assessment result is finally indicated in terms of building environmental efficiency, which is equal to building environmental quality performance divided by building environmental loading. Okay, so this is assessed from majorly 4 aspects: energy efficiency, resource efficiency, local environment and indoor environment. Okay, and the scorecard is arrived like this, where project description is given, and each assessment, how each parameter is performing, and what is the score it is the particular building is achieved. All that will be shown in this automated tool. Okay, and how much score, sorry, yeah, 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 okay, right, yeah. Okay, so these are auto generated ones. So once we feed the information, and we will be able to generate this kind of report. Uh, this will be the final scorecard or sheets. Based on this, the assessment is given. I have put one case study for this because I felt this is very interesting, so that and there are new concepts that is being discussed here. So probably this will lead to the next topic that we'll be discussing in the next class. So I thought we can have a brief introduction on this so that we can proceed. We can take the discussion further in the next class as well. So this is one research institute in Tokyo. The and it is CASB rated building, and we'll see what are the major initiatives taken in this particular project, and how it is assessed. So actually this is a large complex building with multiple building. Okay, some of the important criteria or some of the important initiatives or strategies that is used in this building is ecological roof system. This is how we complement the assessment report. Okay, so it is not that you just feed in numbers and then the assessment is done. No, each component has to be assessed in a specific manner, and details has to be developed. For example, let us say for on-site generation, on-site power generation. Okay, what are the criteria, what are the initiatives that is been taken? Okay, here solar panels installed on entire roof of the system. Okay, for generating electricity. for that for running the building. Natural light by reflection of indirect lighting. Okay, so specific designs are done so that the light is not directly entered into the building. We have a reflected light. Okay, so light falls on the surface and then we get reflected lights. Okay, so this is direct light. Okay, we can see the light is directly passing into the working environment. Okay, uh, at the same time we have reflected lights coming in. These are specially designed. Okay, so you can see the sections as well. Okay, at specific module this has been done, so that the lighting is also taken care. At the same time, the solar panels are not laid flat like this, right? It has to be laid in a specific angle based on the latitude and longitude, based on the location of the project. Okay, so that has been taken care, and that has been integrated with the daylighting system as well. Okay, so this is one thing, a system that diffracts skylight with less fluctuation on the reflecting surface, eliminates the need of daylighting during daytime. Okay, so this is one initiative, and of course this has to come from the building side. Okay, no consultant will give this idea, only an architect can do this. Okay, the second one is peri-buffer system. Peri-buffer system is, for example, let us say you have certain buffer, you can say balconies are created. Okay, why do we do that? So that the heat is reduced here, or the heat is minimized in this or absorbed in this area, so that lesser heat enters into the actual working area. Okay, a thermal buffer zone established around window reduces air conditioning load. Okay, so suppose if the building is like this, let us assume this is the external wall. Okay, we get direct sunlight, and the amount of air conditioning required to cool this space will be much higher than if you have a buffer. Okay, you have a buffer and you reduce the heat coming in, and then this is your heating or cooling area. Okay, this area may require little lesser cooling load than having an external direct wall. So there are specific corridors and aisles created around the building, so that the cooling energy demand is reduced by design. Okay, that's one thing that has been done. Peri-buffer system is used. There is no system here actually. System in a sense, the design of the layouts. Okay, how it is done. Then displacement of natural ventilation system. Okay, so we have also seen that there's a technique for getting daylight into the space. Okay, at the same time, I hope in HVAC system sometime you must have read about displacement ventilation. Okay, so displacement ventilation is, you have X amount of air in this space. Okay, that has to be replaced by Y amount of air. Okay, and how much time it takes for one system to do this, it depends on the efficiency of the system in place. Okay, so when outside air meets the predetermined condition and air conditioner is stopped automatically, the air is discharged from high side light on the upper building. Okay, so if you have understood how the air or the physics of heat works, the hot air is here or the hot air is above. Let us assume this is a building section. Okay, and we have an X volume of air in this room. Okay, the temperature of the air will be uniform inside this room, or there will be a differential temperature within this room? Will there be a differential temperature within this room? Hello, anyone is there? Is it too much? Are we going to detail? Actually, the air will be different. Okay. Normally, to put things in simpler manner, hot air rises up. This is basic physics. Hot air rises up. Okay. So if you have seen old houses in warm and humid climate, in most of the Indian cases, you will see some window here, clay story window on top. Maybe a very small ventilator here at every level, higher level. Okay. That is because that is a basic science. Okay. Hot air rises up and it finds vents to leave out of the building. Okay. So that the same concept is used here. Okay. So to displace the air, and of course they have used other sensors, motion sensors, and also occupant sensors. For example, let us say task based lighting. Okay. Task based cooling system also, or sensor based cooling system as well. Okay. All these things, personalized air conditioning by using radiative convective task based system. These are very high level technological intervention used in the building. Lighting, again, like I said, this is now little common. We have seen, probably you must have seen in the cinema halls and shopping areas, the lights gets turned on only if you are there. Okay. So sensor based lighting, smart lighting systems are used. Now in fact what they have done is they went on to task based lighting system. Okay. So the same thing that we use here at macro level, it's been done at very detailed micro level as well. And of course they have done some innovative work in the energy production as well. So far we have seen only energy production, or not production, sorry, using renewable energy from sun. That's what we have seen, and they have used geothermal energy as well for running the building. And visualization, like I told you in the previous BREEAM case, there's something called metering, energy metering. Energy metering is we can visualize, okay, let's say how much this particular equipment is using energy. What is its impact on how much, what is the contribution this particular unit is consuming. Okay. So for it's like an app, or you can say that this like a smart gadget system installed in different components, so that we know that how much water we are consuming, for example, or heat that is being produced, or CO2 emission it is producing or it is emitting to the environment. All that is a smart system, information system assigned to specific building components and site components. And this is how the scoring card looks like. Okay, and this is one of the high performing building. 7.6 has been given. Okay, so that's all about the CASB system. Okay, so to summarize things, okay, so what we'll do is I have put all these four rating system together, so that we can quickly go through what are the major concepts that we have discussed in this, okay, and how each one is different from the other. Okay, so basic information: CASB, BREEAM, LEED, and Griha. Okay, so if you see papers as well, if you see worldwide as well, these are commonly used rating system. Okay, that's why I have used the same thing. Otherwise, there are so many other rating system as well. Maybe I will, after this presentation, I will show you a list of other rating system that we have. Some 30-35 rating systems are there. Okay, so BREEAM, okay, is one of the oldest one. LEED, CASB, okay, and we have seen where it has started. Okay, and actually this is some of the parameters are specific to that country. Some of the tools are developed keeping the uh, entire world into consideration. For example, Griha is for only India. Okay, Griha doesn't give a rating for any other country. Whereas we LEED, it's US based, we use it. Okay, BREEAM also. BREEAM, I don't know whether any of the buildings in India has been rated or not, but the tool is designed for. It can be used anywhere in the world. What is the major difference between CASB, BREEAM? CASB primarily on environmental concern, having 3 stages of development. Okay, so we have seen what is the impact of this building within this site is one component. Okay, that's Q, and its impact on outside environment. Okay, so that's the major thing that we should know. Okay, L is the impact that this particular development is creating on the immediate environment. BREEAM, the difference is it's a two-stage process. It's a stage-wise assessment. Okay, design stage assessment is one, and post-construction stage assessment is another one. Okay, so feasibility stage, there's one pre-assessment is done, and then during design, the design is evaluated. And I said, if you remember, an interim report or interim certification is given at this stage itself. Okay, so this is pre-design, not pre-design, sorry, design stage. Pre-design is already here. So design stage, design development, or we have the drawings and ideas in place. At this stage, there is one assessment is done, and the rest of the component is based on post construction. Okay, how is it performing, and construction, during construction, what are the challenges that the project is facing, all that. Okay, whereas LEED in Griha is a voluntary tool constitute of 5 sustainability area, industrial standard certification process. Um, it's a holistic approach. Okay, you have majorly 5 criteria that is being used, that is used for rating a building under LEED: sustainable sites, water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, material and resources, environmental quality, and innovation in the project. Okay, this is how LEED works. Okay, 5 major parameters. How Griha works is little different. Griha designed for buildings, buildings environmental performance in the context of Indian climatic condition is one. Griha is little different. What we have to do in Griha is we have to create base case. Okay, so maybe if you listen to any of the seminars on Griha, they will always refer to base case. What is base case? A base case is, for example, let us say you are designing an office building, okay, and you are aiming to get this rated by Griha. What you have to do is you have to actually design this the way you intend to do without using any passive or active system to improve the performance of this building. you conventionally design this building, and then you estimate, okay, you estimate the total energy it will consume, total energy it will consume without intentionally creating any new strategies, passive strategies or active strategies in the building. Okay, and then you arrive at energy that is that it will consume at the end of the day. So that will become your base case. For example, this is a hypothetical one. Just 1 minute, I think I'll just erase this. Yeah. Let us assume the base case it consumes 600 odd kilowatt hour per meter square annually. Okay, and then you intervene this building by introducing some specific high performance material or design initiatives to reduce this number. That's the idea. Post building envelope optimization. Let us say you have designed this building and now you will optimize this envelope to improve its performance. Okay, let's say from 600 to you have got 590, and then you introduce artificial lighting optimization. Okay, this is just an example. It's not necessary that the step has to be only this. This is an indication. Okay, and then you can see there is a drastic reduction in overall energy performance from 590 to envelope gave you about 15 odd kilowatt hour per meter square reduction, and using lighting, specific lighting, you can save so much. And then using installation efficient chillers and other systems, you can bring this energy down further. Use of HVAC control zone based air conditioning, the energy can be reduced further. So if the idea is you design a building and then you run the simulation and then you create a base case. From base case, all the measures will be done one after the other. Okay, and then you bring down the total energy consumption. Okay, that's how Griha works. Whereas the other things are a little different than this. Okay, I hope it is clear for everyone. And major criteria used in all this, we have seen this in detail, but to summarize: built environmental quality, indoor environment and quality of services under CASB. Built environment load. You remember this? There are two things. One is inside the site, outside the site. What is the impact on the outside the site? So that's one thing. And under BREEAM, you have management, health, energy, water, material, transport, waste, land use, and so forth. Under LEED, we have sustainable site, water. Most of it will be overlapping. One or two will be new that we should keep in mind. Sustainable site is there throughout. Water, energy, sustainable building material, waste, innovation is also there. Okay, and the results are depicted based on in a graphical manner. Under CASB, we have seen one example as well. Under BREEAM, it is like this: pass, or good, or very good, excellent. And LEED is either certified or silver, gold, platinum rated. And in Griha, it is star rating. Okay, this is for building, and for large development, we said the reverse of it. Okay, and I have put some reference material here for each. We have seen 4 rating system, right? Griha, BREEAM, CASB, and Griha, BREEAM, LEED, CASB. So most of the discussion is taken from the manuals of this particular rating system. If for more detail and more explicit information, you can go through each of the module or each of the manual that is given. And for case study, I think I have put for last two, for CASB, I have taken from um, this JSBC, Japan Sustainable Building Consortium, right? Yeah, that's it from my side. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll discuss for some time and then we can stop.